We'll just adjust our ways and encourage our friends and family who may feel disenchanted, like nothing they do really matters, to do in the next few weeks to help your election.
For a person who's feeling disenchanted or disaffected, a lot of times it's hyper easy to feel disenchanted and disaffected if you're watching mainstream news all the time. And I would argue that mainstream news sometimes wants some people to be disenchanted and disaffected. It's a lot of times these headlines and things like that, they don't really comport with the reality on the ground. And it's easy to feel disenchanted when we feel like no progress is happening. And I'll talk about public safety. This past year, we worked with a community organization in the Bronx where there was an enormous amount of spikes in violence. And so what we started to do was that we worked with the community organizations and we secured and we were able to get a grant for several $100,000. And we said, let us just take this small pilot group of people who are affected by crime and by violence, including people who are committing violence. Because what we saw is that post-COVID, there's an enormous amount of mental health crises, particularly among young people, and particularly, especially in incidents of violence among young men. Let's say teenage to 20, almost 30. And that's where the vast bulk of this social discord is coming from. So with folks that we worked with in Jacobi Hospital, we said, what if we just take a small portion of people involved in these incidents of violence, and just for this small pilot group, what if we move the response out of the precinct, right? An incidents of violence happens. If someone needs to get stitched up, they get stitched up. Then they get taken to the precinct, and then from the precinct, you get charged, you get this, you get that, whatever. What if we just take a small pilot group and we shifted response out of a precinct and into a hospital? And so what happened is that what we did in the Bronx is that anyone who got admitted from a gunshot wound, a stab wound, etc., immediately got flagged for the Stand Up to Violence program. And here's what we did. We brought on only not just a doctor to stitch the person up, we brought in a social worker, we brought in mentors, we brought in housing specialists, and you know what we found? We brought in psychiatrists, we brought in psychologists, all of them. You know what we found? Here's what we found. Here's a fact. We reduced reoccurrence of crime by more than 50%.